Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the summit. Now, today's conversation is going to be centered around the Africa Climate Summit that just concluded in Addis Ababa, where leaders, experts, and communities from across the continent came together to shape Africa's climate future. Now, this year's conversation highlighted a shift from climate aid to climate investment, as we're going to continue to understand more of that during the conversation, and a stronger call for justice and equity, and a focus on solutions that are led by Africa itself. Now, Rwanda too has been at the forefront of climate resilience, where it is using policy, innovation, or community-driven action to be able to make it a reality. Today, we're going to be taking a closer look at what the summit means for Rwanda and how our country is also contributing to these continental priorities. So diving into the conversation with me, I have the Director General of Rwanda Environment Management Authority, Juliet Kabera. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and we also have the coordinator of the Rwanda Climate Change Development Network, Voningoma Foster. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yes, so we can dive into the conversation. Like I said, the recently concluded Africa Climate Change that took place in Addis Ababa brought together leaders, experts, as well as community members who are at the forefront of shaping Africa's climate future. So I can start with you, DG Juliet Kabera. How significant is it for Rwanda to be part of a continental discussion like the Africa Climate Forum or Summit?
Thank you so much. Again, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure for us to come and always share what our team, our delegation in the Africa Climate Summit was, worked on for the entire week. Yeah, I think there was a technical team that was there beginning of the week, and then the last 2 days, which was the summit days. So it's very important that Rwanda takes part of these conversations, because really these are the tables where these important issues like climate change, resilience are discussed, not only for discussing, but also for finding solutions to the challenges that we are going through. So it's important because, again, we take to those conversations the homegrown solutions, our priorities as a country, and when we take those, we are also keen to learn from others who are there, but we're most importantly even interested in making the right partnerships that we need to come and add to what we are doing at home to build the resilience of the communities. So this is a space that is important for Rwanda to be part of, but even important for Africa, because this is when we come with a common, voice to even ask for bigger commitments globally, because we are talking about climate change. There is a history to it. There is historical contributions that we, from the developed world, that we all know, but unless we come together as a unified voice from Africa, we cannot really push for meaningful contributions or commitments. I think commitments is a better word, because oftentimes we fall into a trap of thinking that climate finances and resource and commitments are maybe a donation, which is not. Yeah. So this is a time for us to kind of arrange our ideas, build a common voice, push for what we know as priorities for Africa and also for individual countries. Our delegation was led by the Honorable Minister of Environment, and we're looking forward to be briefed on the outcome, on the engagement that have been made.
Yes, 100%. And I'm sure a lot of preparation comes into effect once a delegation is preparing to go to Addis Ababa, for example, for such a summit. In speaking of climate change, are Rwandans becoming more accustomed to understanding the gravity of it, and also being aware of the different ways in which it affects our country, and what more we can do to be able to contribute positively towards it?
Yeah, it's now becoming clearer. I think in the beginning, early 2000s, it was still a mystery. We were confusing it with, like weather patterns, weather changes, but we now know that it's climate change because it has been on for a number of years. But being climate change, again, you cannot say that you know when it will happen. Yes. Otherwise, it wouldn't be climate change. So we are learning that it's with us here, and all we have to do is build the resilience, the community's resilience to climate change. Not a simple shift to go in, but because we are working with different stakeholders, partners in the country, we are sharing this information, and we are looking for better ways for us to, build our resilience to the changing climate.
Yes, thank you very much for that. Over to you, Mr. Vuningoma. What have been your impressions on the recently concluded Africa Climate Summit and the kind of conversations that have been had, maybe from the insights that we received from the first day and the second day, as well as is it inspiring for civil society?
Yeah, thank you very much, Martina. In the first place, when we are talking about a summit that is discussing moving away from grants to investment and looking at where we are as a continent, you start asking yourselves so many questions. In the first place, why do we need grants for Africa? And why would we prefer that as civil society? Because for us, we have always argued that developed countries should take responsibility as a form of climate justice to ensure that they at least play part in repairing what they have destroyed. Climate change is here not because of Africa having played part. Our entire global continental contribution to greenhouse gas emissions, I normally say, is insignificant. Insignificant in the sense that when you talk about less than 4%, you really realize that it is quite insignificant. And historically, as the DG has put it, the developed countries that have caused this need to take responsibility. And they cannot take responsibility in the form of investment alone. We really require grants. We still require grants, and we are pushing for that as civil society. So our appreciation is, yes, we can invest, but the far we are coming from and where we are today, we still need grants to come from those developed countries to take their responsibility and say, look here, we destroyed this, we contributed to this, and we need to readdress it. Because it so happens that IPCC indicate that Africa is one of the continents that are going to be highly affected by climate change effects, irrespective of contributing minimally to the causes. Now, if that is the case, then who has contributed more, and what should they do as a responsibility to ensure that they build Africa's capacity to respond to the challenges? Resilience is built, but building resilience requires two things that you cannot run away from. One, finances. Secondly, technology. In case we don't have those, then I think we cannot make strides. And secondly, when you talk about investment on the part of this globe, you sometimes start thinking about interest rates that come with it. We've not been able to attract resources that can attract less interest rate because we cannot risk our projects. And therefore, if we are not able to risk our projects to a point that our interest rates still range between 16, 15 to 20%, while in the developed world you may get loans that are ranging between 2 to 5%, then you can see that the level of investment will not come equally. And that level of injustice must have a leveled ground where people discuss. And I think the African group of negotiators our leaders on the continent should actually be looking at that and say, well, as we agree to go into investment, but grants are still required. That's our view.
Yes, thank you very much. And in terms of those taking responsibility, you did mention that some of them are, but there's still a lot more to be done. Is there progress in that area?
Certainly we see a lot of progress in that area, but unfortunately on the African continent it is not equally practiced. It depends on the political will. I would appreciate that our government has taken good political will into challenging issues of climate change and trying to address them, into looking at issues of environment, so that actually they are comprehensively addressed and try to build the resilience of our communities. I think there has been great political will and that our government has taken good steps towards that, and I wish to comprehend that, but we still have a lot to do. Our communities are still so weak in terms of resilience and in terms of responding to climate change challenges. And so it means come rain, come sunshine, it's still a problem. Sometimes rain comes with high intensity, and you will hear that soils have been washed at minimum. Sometimes it is landslides, sometimes it is overflow of rivers causing floods. So you see, the impact is always felt highly than the preparedness of the communities, and I think that's where we are driving. And when we see the government projects that are in place around the country, there is hope.
Yes. That's the most important thing, is that there is hope, and at least we are moving forward. Back to you, DG. The summit's first day focused on nature-based solutions, clean energy, as well as infrastructure that is needed. Could you perhaps share what Rwanda, or how Rwanda is already engaging in these areas?
Yeah, thank you so much. Nature-based solutions is actually, this is a terminology that we have learned a few years ago, but interestingly, we have been implementing nature-based solutions in Rwanda. So we have tried to come up with a very simple definition of what it is. In our case, basically any action that is meant to enhance nature in order to solve challenges in the society. That is going to qualify to be called a nature-based solution. And probably it's best understood when we look at some interventions or projects that have been put in place, that have been implemented through nature-based solutions. The example that comes to mind quickly is the Nyandungu Eco Park. Here, enhancing nature in that situation meant restoring or rehabilitating the wetland which was degraded, and the challenges that it came to solve in the society are very many. I could talk about flood management or attenuation. That is a flood-prone area before. So right now the floods that used to make the road Kigali-Rwamagana impassable sometimes have really been managed because the wetland now can function, deliver on its function of storing water. The other challenge that we had that time is obviously there is grass, there is organisms that are meant to live in wetlands. Those were no more because there was no wetland then. And now when we look at the biodiversity count, we see a lot of biodiversity that has been, that is back now in that area. Not to mention the space for recreation, because we are it's in Kigali, it's in an urban setup. Our compounds are not big enough for us to ride in them. So we have enough space, at least for the communities around that place, to go for recreation and sports. So you see, you are using nature to give back all those values to the society. So yeah, so we had a lot to contribute on day one of nature-based solution. I'm sure the delegation also discussed the current activities in restoring other 5 wetlands in Kigali. This is almost 491 hectares that government has, surrendered to be rehabilitated in order to again solve such challenges like the ones I mentioned earlier. But a lot of degraded ecosystem regeneration is happening countrywide, not only in Kigali. We know about the Gishwati National Park, which was, again a degraded forest, Gishwati Forest, which was now restored, designated as a national park, which makes it even more protected. So this is what we were contributing in terms of conversation, but we are also showcasing other priorities that we have to again attract more investments or grants to help us continue with this restoration journey. You talked about clean energy.
Yes.
A lot of our energy mix really is renewable, over 60%. And so this is also something that we are eager to share. Being a developing country, we are not obliged to 100% move off the fossil fuel. Nonetheless, the government has decided, is working hard to generate more energy that is renewable, because again it saves us investment later in future. If you're investing in a source of energy that is yet to be phased out, that means more investment is going to be needed in the future to retrofit that. So we try to generate the energy that will be there, being renewable, that's solar, that's hydro, as clean as we can. That is what the government is emphasizing on. You also have noticed that we are promoting e-mobility.
Yes.
This is also another indicator that really the government of Rwanda is into clean energy. And we have the newest initiative or program of testing the emissions from vehicles. Here we are saying, yes, we are still using the fossil fuel for energy, for transport, but again, can we use it in a way that it doesn't contribute to polluting the air that we breathe, which is also connected to the global warming in a way, not directly, but indirectly, it ends up in warming the globe. So all these initiatives together, this is what we are sharing, but we are also sharing priorities that still need to be invested in, issues that need to be sorted. Pushing, the need for the grants, but also showcasing the innovative financing platforms that the country has put in place. So we're looking at a hybrid, really.
Thank you very much for those insights. And speaking of e-mobility and how Rwanda is phasing out some of these things as we are trying to protect the air and so much more, sometimes for communities or residents to become accustomed to some of these changes, it's quite a task, especially if, let's say, these motorbikes, the ones that they have been using for so many years, convincing them to switch to something else. Yes, it can be a government rule in the future, but sometimes it takes some convincing. How is the government of Rwanda contributing to helping these people understand the importance of some of these things? Sometimes even people in the rural areas might not understand why we are phasing out some of these things. What is the tactic?
It's very hard, but here again we appreciate the media that is doing a great job to communicate why we need, for instance, to take our vehicles for emissions testing. Sometimes we look at it from a justice perspective, to borrow your word, Foster, a justice perspective in a way that if you're lucky to be driving, you shouldn't drive at the expense of another person who is not driving. You should drive fine, but maintain your vehicle so it does not contribute to air pollution, because again, that way you are also affecting everybody's health, starting from you, but also others who are not even driving. And this is how it affects the entire country, because then you're going to need more investment in health, especially like in Mutuelle de Santé. That means you're going to need to raise a bigger budget to subsidize our health care, because I mean, the air is everywhere.
Yes.
It's not like you're going to prevent it to come into your home. It's going to be mixed up everywhere, and it's going to affect everyone. So how we share this information, it's continuous. It's a continuous process.
Yeah.
We start with the people we are with closely. Obviously, the law comes in later. A lot of efforts are being put in awareness raising and letting Rwandans understand why we are doing what we are doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. Back to you, Mr. Vuningoma. Your network brings together a wide range of actors at the community level. How are you seeing Rwandan communities responding to climate challenges in practical ways?
I think our role in the first place was to create awareness and to inform communities that climate change is here with us. And you know, it's not something that is going to disappear tomorrow. We are not easily going to beat it. So we need to learn how to live with it. And we need to learn how to live with it by thinking of how we can address the issues that it's likely to cause into our livelihoods. So what we do in practical terms is creating awareness and ensuring that the communities understand that climate change is here, understand the causes, so that they don't mix it up with any other happenings. You know, when they're talking about climate change, the scientists tell us that you are supposed to observe within a period of 30 years. So possibly for you, you may not get the sense of what it means, but for us who have been around for some time, at least who have seen cycles of 30 passing and another 30 passing, we can see the real difference and say that really climate change is happening.
Yeah.
So one thing is that as long as they know, then they need to take steps of getting how to address the issues ahead of them. I will give you a scenario. When we were training people in Karongi district, my first question was, suppose the rain doesn't appear within the next 3 years, what do you do? The answers that came were, we would shift from here, and my question was, go to where?
Go where?
Because there are no rains. Then the other answer would be, we would just be left to die. You know, such kind of responses that show that there is no hope in case rains don't appear. And my question was, think about Egypt, a country where rains do not appear even a single moment, and yet they can be able to grow food and be able to export beyond what they're able to use domestically. Then there is a problem in our minds. If we are going to run away because there are no rains, and leave like Kivu hanging there, leave the rivers crossing our community land, leave the small swamps where you can dig water and get it, it means there is something wrong in the brain. And therefore we say, no, please, wake up. It's possible that we can live without rain. If other countries in the desert areas have lived without rains, we can live without rain, which means there are better things we can do to ensure that when rains come and we see them coming with intensity, then we need to know that we are supposed to adapt in this form. Let's do rainwater harvesting. Let us try to see if we can do some bit of irrigation, so that we can respond to issues of climate change practically. So adaptation is at the heart of what we train our communities to work with, and all Our 78 member organizations are already aware of this. So they work with communities at the grassroots level and ensure that changes happen.
Yeah.
What I can say is that we still have a lot to do. If you can see a community member that is living besides the river, in the first year, water comes and sweeps his house. In the next year, he comes back and builds it in the same place where it was built.
Yeah.
Possibly the following year, all the crops are flooded. And in the next year, he comes again and grows the same crops using the same methods without even draining the swamp or the water downstream. Then you see that there is a lot of things that really people need to understand. And what I can say is that we have seen government putting in an effort in some projects. If you go to Gichubi, for example, and you see what Green Gichubi has done, to Amayaga, and you see what the Amayaga project has done, you can feel hope.
Yeah.
But what our communities require to understand is that beyond this project, there must be sustainability, and sustainability goes with mindset change.
Yeah.
That's what we are pushing for, and I'm very sure change will happen.
Yes, I was about to speak on sustainability because the government can only do so much in terms of bringing these awareness programs, these trainings. So I was going to ask, how do you measure how much has been understood by these communities? Let's say you've been to Karongi, trainings have happened. Do you check back with them after a certain period of time to see if what they have learned is being implemented, especially in terms of mindset?
If you could see the way communities behaved when they were told to move from high risk zones,
yeah.
It was chaotic. But the moment they see that the disasters come and they don't claim their lives, and then I think they congratulate the government for having taken that kind of decision.
Yes.
And slowly by slowly, you see, teaching or creating awareness so that people can understand takes time.
Yeah.
And when we talk about climate change, sometimes even the educated ones that are in this city of Kigali is disastrous. I once visited a medical practitioner, and you know, medicine takes so many years in school, 7. And this one was a cardiologist, possibly who had taken another 3 years. So you expect that person to be knowledgeable. And one of the questions he asked me was, what do you do? And I told him that when I talked about climate change and he came into what I do, the immediate response was, these things that are claimed by the people in the north, Bazungus, because they want to eat the money. And I looked at him and said, I am very unfortunate that I may not even be sure that you are going to treat me.
And you're healed.
Because I said, no. There is ignorance of the highest level, not only with our communities at grassroots, but even among the educated.
Yeah.
Because when people talk about climate change, people start thinking that it is a myth, but it's a reality. And therefore, you see, continuously we are supposed to be talking about this. Practically try to see if we can raise resources. We also raise resources as NGOs to see how we can support communities at the grassroots. Try to practically show that the place where we have supported, at least change is happening with them. Then finally, even these other ones will gradually say, you should also support us so that we graduate to this. Yeah. And that is the way you can actually claim about sustainability. When people start understanding that, if we had done this, we could have stopped this. Then you get to understand that things are working out. We are now thinking about solar irrigation.
Yeah.
Trying to test it and see whether it's going to work and be perfect. We are thinking about how do we collect water so that we can use it to irrigate kitchen gardens, for example. We've been giving people tanks, these water tanks at home to collect water from the rooftops. That one is not sufficient. Possibly to help in getting water to drink and to use domestically, and also to do some bit of gardening. But we have also gone to the level of digging ditches on the slopy mountains to ensure that these ditches can at least hold water, so that you reduce the levels of erosion, but also have the capacity of holding water that can be permeating down little by little, so that at least it doesn't disappear anyhow.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of things we are doing. Adaptation is very critical into this. I always say that Africa doesn't require a lot of mitigation. We normally talk about mitigation because we want the global world, the planet, to think that we are moving where they want us to move, and to show them that we are players also in that. But what are we mitigating? You see, you mitigate what you cause. And after all, when you look at our capacity to sequester, sometimes I say we are not zero, DJ.
We are negative?
We are net negative because we are able to sequester much more than we emit.
Yeah.
So when you look at sustainability, I can say continuously building the capacities of our farmers. I talk about farmers when you talk about climate change because they are the ones at the front line.
Yeah.
They are the ones who have it rough. So building their capacity so that they understand and get to know that because you are going to stay with this vice, you need to put in your effort to ensure that you can resist the challenges that are going to come forward.
Thank you very much for that.
Well, I must say that the hazards are now more frequent.
Yes.
The climate change related hazards are very frequent now. That even you who is under 30, you have experienced a few, like the floods are more frequent, and they become worse by the year, and so are the droughts. So at least the community now knows, understands, is aware. What is left for us is to actually upscale the solutions that we've tested already. He did mention solar irrigation systems. In Rema alone, we have put up a number of these, one in Bugesera, another one in Chirehe. Those are drought, prone areas. And where we test that the community is now taking this serious and understands, after building they operate the solar-powered irrigation systems, because there is maintenance sometimes that is needed, really minimal, but even the ability to know that this is how much we are going to pump, when, and that is all operated by the communities around there, the beneficiaries. It really shows us hope that this is something they treasure, because there is value after all. So what is left for stay, I believe, is to upscale these solutions that we've tested.
Yeah, you are right. Fortunately or unfortunately, the fact that these hazardous things that are happening do show us or help us be aware of some of the effects of climate change and how we can be able to go about them. And now we can act according to what we have seen or experienced. Like I mentioned earlier, during some of the themes that were strongly highlighted in this year's Africa Climate Summit is a strong call for climate finance to be seen as an investment rather than aid. So if I could ask you, DG, what does that shift mean for Rwanda's climate priorities and policies?
Yeah, so it means we are looking at climate finance as a catalyst for economic development. Yes, it's not aid, really. The moment you start looking at it as aid, that means you will not even be aggressive around mobilizing these resources, because if it's aid, then you're basically going to sit and wait until the aid is brought to you. So being a catalyst to economic development means we are being aggressive, intentional, building the right capacities, the right institutions have been put in place. We have already developed a number of instruments that are helping to mobilize these resources. And how we approach this is not taking an isolated project, because again, that would not give us the scale that we want. That is why government of Rwanda has now decided to look at it in terms of programs. If you're looking at, let's say, soil erosion control, that alone is a program in itself that has to be handled systematically, and the amount of resources that you're looking for are going to be a lot, but they're going to yield results. There could be grants that are going to make eventually the loans, that they are inevitable, unfortunately, because some of these partners or players are interested in investments. Some technologies have to be invested in. We have to purchase them, those that we don't have here. So that means we are talking about a blend of both grants and loans, but aiming at giving us a sustainable development. So that is how I could best explain the shift that we are looking at, a shift that is going to give us, a bigger scale of results. Yes, utilizing every penny that is there and being very much aggressive about it.
Yes.
Because it's very much needed, as we know that the impacts are going to only become worse by the year. Our communities are vulnerable, as earlier explained, not only because of the economic status that we have, but also the terrain of the country. We are also, mountainous country, hilly, beautiful, but that makes our soils very fragile and susceptible to erosion. So all the technology necessary has to be brought in as soon as possible and done from the side that is most vulnerable as we go to those that are less vulnerable.
Thank you for that. And not moving far from that as well, Mr. Vuningoma, as accessing finance is a challenge for many grassroots initiatives, like we continue to see all over. From your perspective, what opportunities exist to connect local climate efforts in Rwanda to bigger continental as well as global financing mechanisms?
The global financing mechanisms that have been put in place were to address issues of climate change, but of course at the grassroots level. And it's the responsibility of governments to develop projects, bankable projects that can attract resources from those mechanisms that have been put in place. First of all, it becomes very hectic and sometimes quite impossible for the grassroots to directly access those resources because it's too bureaucratic. The systems are in such a way that it's not very easy for any person to get there. But with government effort, when they put the effort together and then try to look into how they can access those resources from those mechanisms that have been put in place, then they could come into the country and be put into good use. Now, when I say be put into good use, is that we need to be understanding the issues from the grassroots. We need to do assessments and understand what people really want and how they can build their resilience. They know sometimes we tend to think that the communities do not know, but they know. Traditional knowledge, if I can say that, I don't know if I need to call it traditional knowledge, is also something that we need to be considering all the time that we do our things. These people have been there, they have observed changes, they have lived with them, they have managed over years, and they can give answers. At some point she was talking about nature-based solutions. But we need to interrogate the infrastructure of nature-based solutions that we have in our country and how they respond to the needs of the communities that we are supposed to be addressing. And therefore, we need resources. I always say that we shall always push to advocate for developed countries to support the developing countries. Our advocacy work does not stop at country level. It goes up to the global level. Because when you are talking about climate justice, it's about asking yourself, what role does the person have that caused climate change to respond to the challenges that the ones who did not cause it are living? That is what justice is all about. Now, investment can be looked at twofold. One, internally, we are training banks to ensure that they can do an assessment of the risks, climate risks. Even be able to look at the climate risk indicators and make them part of their loan assessments.
Yeah.
So that if I am coming to ask for a loan, you need to look at the risks that are involved by climate change, so that you first of all see if this can be advised, if banks can advise their clients on how they can deal with these indicators that are there. Why? Because what does it cost for you to give me a loan to go and grow maize in a place where it's prone of drought, and you expect that when the rains don't come, you will come and sell my house because I have given it as collateral? That one is not going to address issues of development. And therefore, using the climate indicators on different crops, we advise banks and microfinance institutions that this could have been a way that you do assessment in that regard, and also be able to finance projects, but looking at issues of climate change, which means that that is one form of climate finance that we can raise. When we are asking insurance companies to take some risks, that's de-risking the projects. If they are able to take some level of risk, they are de-risking the projects so that this farmer does not fall into full risk at a time when the disasters come. All that is a process of trying to see how we link financing. But I should stress that as a civil society, we are still talking to the developed countries to say, please, when you're asking for money, you're not begging. But we're asking you to take your responsibility, and it is all right.
Thank you very much for that.
So maybe he wanted to tell the listeners about climate sorry, did I say climate finance? Climate smart agriculture. A strategy that has just been developed, I think, a couple of months ago, 2 months ago. And now the Rwanda Green Fund is busy developing, coming up with the programs or bankable projects to support this climate smart agriculture. This is where the shift will be felt. If we're doing agriculture, not business as usual, because it has been aided by the resources that government is championing to pull into the country, then that is where we're going to see the real change. I should also have told you about the Ireme Invest. This is a platform that was built like 2 years ago, so the private sector can also have access to resources that are going to help in building the resilience of us Rwandans to the changing climate, but also mitigate emissions wherever possible. So we're looking at different corners, not only looking at the community as from a vulnerable perspective, but also availing resources through platforms such as this, where the private sector can come in, borrow at a little bit concessional, less interest, but be able to invest again and push resources into the area of mitigation and adaptation to climate change.
Thank you for mentioning that. It's good that people can be made aware. And speaking of our participation, youth and women of recent have been highlighted as key drivers of climate solutions. So how is REMA ensuring their participation is shaping and implementing Rwanda's green agenda?
So thank you so much. Yes, youth. At REMA, we don't take youth and women and other vulnerable groups of the community as beneficiaries alone. Yes, they are, but they also shape the climate change mitigation adaptation agenda of the country. And here is how, when we are developing such projects, we really make sure that the women's voice are heard, the youth are heard. If it's a competition, then we are going to purpose to involve the youth related projects or ideas and initiatives on the table. Again, you can't talk about sustainability if you're not bringing the youth and the women into the picture. So we do purpose to make sure that we reach out for ideas, but also when we have to extend support, then these are the first people that we look at. So that way we have seen a number of initiatives that have come from the youth. One that usually comes to mind is a compost manufacturing activity or investment done by a very young man right from university, and he's like, I'm not going to go further than the dumping site at Huye, but I'm going to make sure that I make compost out of this. This was so interesting for us at REMA that we are still tracking his progress. He's already in a good shape now, because the compost is at the market, packaged, tested for quality. Where we clearly look for such, even in the circular economy area, where people can use or repurpose some materials for other use, which reduces the waste and the burden of pollution from old materials. So we take particular interest in the youth and women. Foster could attest to this. In our negotiations, I think we are one of the delegations that have the youngest, the youngest team of negotiators in the climate space. So meaning that we actually know that it's them who are going to take the mantle forward.
Thank you for that. And also, not moving far from youth engagement is often at the heart of community action. If I may ask Mr. Mvuningoma, how is RCCDN helping amplify the role of young people, especially in climate adaptation as well as innovation?
Let me first say how happy I am to see somebody of your age grilling us with questions that environmental and climate change related.
I know, right?
It makes me extremely happy because
we need to learn.
We are trying to train young ones, even in the schools, trying to create awareness in the schools so that they understand these issues of climate change and how they are supposed to be dealing with them. We do not stop there. I don't know whether we're among the environmental journalists. It's an organization that is a member of RCCDN. The Environmental Journalists of Rwanda are a member of RCCDN.
Are you inviting her to join?
If she's not.
I'm not, but I can surely join.
You should join.
Yes.
You are smart for that.
Thank
you. What we really focus on is ensuring that inclusivity, the youth, women, people with disabilities are part of the people we are working with throughout all our programs. And we encourage the youth more specifically because when you look at climate change, the challenges are far-reaching, that you may not know how far they are going to be until our communities are able to resist the shocks. And therefore, the level of education, of course, sometimes the income levels will always determine how somebody will be able to catch up with response mechanisms. And we are saying that the youth must be into this, to understand it and to be able to adapt to the challenges that are in place. So one thing is building their capacity. That one we do. Another thing is that when we are at the grassroots working with communities, we ensure that they are part of the activities, of the climate actions we are doing at the grassroots level. And sometimes we take what we call positive action, affirmative action, of bringing the youth exclusively so that they can be part of. Very recently, I think we are organizing a Gara night And within the Ghana night, you expected to see a lot of views. I think you saw what was there the other previous year.
Yeah.
So I think we shall also invite you to come and experience that.
Yeah.
Sometimes we do that affirmative action to make the youth come so that they can experience all this. And I remember when Rema organized a round of the youth going around the country to see the experiences and what was going on, the challenges. When they came back, there were a lot of stories.
I know.
And it means
Impressive.
that we cannot leave them out. You can't leave out the youth because they are the ones going to be handling these things in the future. You cannot, even now, you cannot leave out women because they are the ones suffering most.
Yeah.
If I can tell you the story about women, you go into the communities and they tell you that men have run away because there is famine. And when men are running, what happens? They leave the women there
To struggle.
to feed the children. And sometimes men start as a home somewhere where they have gone. Men are always looking for greener pastures, I don't know why. But we've experienced that. The women, the young children, especially girls, are the ones that go to fetch water far points when water points dry up. They are the ones that are faced with issues of collecting firewood under circumstances that is not even easy. And therefore all those challenges put together means that women, children, people with disabilities must always be considered when it comes to addressing climate change challenges.
Thank you very much. And now as we draw to the conclusion of this very insightful discussion, DG, as we approach COP30, how important is it for Rwanda to speak with a united African voice, especially on climate and negotiations?
Yeah, thank you so much. We indeed, from this summit, countries are preparing for COP30 happening in Brazil. So it's important because, again, it's a negotiation. Countries will be going there to negotiate, and our priorities during those negotiations is number one, climate finance. The commitments that developed countries made have to be met, and you cannot possibly, you cannot push them when you're just one country. So the unified voice of Africa and other developing countries is very important. And so we are always keen to understand how different are we going to tackle it this time around. So that is one of our priorities. Number two priority is transfer of technology. I think he mentioned it eloquently. All these challenges that we have require us to have the right technology and affordable, because it's one thing to have it there, it's another to have it affordable. The owners of the technology, unfortunately, are mainly the same developed countries. So again, being unified as Africa and other developing countries is very important. But that aside, when we go to negotiate, when we go for COP, yes, we go with that unified voice from the African group of negotiators, but we also go to showcase the initiatives that Rwanda has with the aim of, again, attracting partners, investors who want to come and who believe that what we are doing is really making a difference. This time around, we are still putting together what needs to be showcased, but I believe it's a lot. It's a lot that we're going to have to showcase there. So again, to your point, unified voice equals a better, you're heard better, and because you're heard better, then you're going to shift, some needle is going to be shifted towards availing the resources that are needed for resilience building. And when those resources are there, they are never enough. They're always limited. And so being part of that conversation also helps us to know what is being availed so we can better prepare to compete for them the soonest possible. Because it's a competition, the better you prepare, the earlier you push in your pitch, the more chances that you have to access these resources.
Yes, thank you. And Mr. Vuningoma, very briefly, looking forward, how do you see Rwanda's community-driven initiatives connecting with wider African partnerships that are being emphasized, especially at this summit and beyond?
You know, Rwanda negotiates through different platforms. We negotiate through the African group of negotiators. We negotiate through the G77 plus China. We negotiate through LDCs. But I have always said that at this summit, sometimes you make 3 steps forward and you make 2 steps backward. The negotiations started way back in 1992. We are still negotiating. We've reached COP30 now. And when you look at where we are going, sometimes you become, you start asking yourself a lot of, there are gray areas that you can ask yourself about and say, are we getting any better? But all that said, we as civil society, we still push. One, we say our government should be pushing for better negotiations. That is attracting more resources. That is attracting technology. But the promises that the developed countries have said have never been kept. So they keep switching and shifting posts. And one thing I can say is that we need to continue struggling.
Yeah.
Advocacy, negotiations are always a struggle to continue pushing. And you never stop. You may not get the results now, but you may get them later. And sometimes it becomes a factor that the one you are negotiating with may realize at a later stage that they need to do something, not because of your benefit, but because when they don't do it, they're also going to be put into. Remember that the planet
Is shared.
Is the same. We are living on the same planet. What is here may easily get there if they are not careful. So that's it.
Thank you very much. This has been very insightful. I want to thank you, DG Juliet Kavera, for taking your time to be here and also providing such valuable insights, not only what on behalf of the government, what you are doing to be able to contribute to the climate action, but also future plans and how it is our role as a nation, Africa, but also making sure the youth and women also have a voice in that area.
Thank you so much. This was very interesting. Thank you for having us.
Thank you as well. Mr. Vuningoma, thank you very much for providing your perspective and continuing to educate, especially us, the youth, and what more we can do as well as our role in this.
The pleasure is mine.
Yes. So from today's discussion, it is very evident and very clear that Rwanda's efforts, whether at the policy level, through youth as well as women engagement, or at the community level, it is closely tied to a broader African vision being shaped at the summit. So once again, let's continue to have these thought-provoking conversations. And until next time, stay safe. My name is Martina, and we'll see you on the next episode.